The LeMans Classic with Richard Mille and EFG Bank.
LeMans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com. It's night time here at Le Mans, but this is a racetrack that knows very well that it doesn't stop just because it gets dark. And here at MotorsTV at the 2010 Le Mans Classic, we're still going as well. That means you get to see the best of the action from on the track, the atmosphere from around the paddocks, and we'll be inviting some guests onto our beautiful Citroën DS here. It's night time, but the fun continues on MotorsTV from the Le Mans 2010 Classic. Well, as the pace car comes around for yet another race, it's full darkness here at Le Mans. John Hindhaugh, and I'm very, very excited indeed. Across the start-finish line, the green lights are on and we are racing. Delighted to see that the crowds have stayed out in great numbers to watch the nighttime action here at Le Mans. Still some very, very exciting and expensive machinery out on the circuit. Flashing the right-hand indicator is our leader, the Maserati T61 birdcage. This is a very, very early and unexpected stop. That can only mean one thing, I'm afraid, a problem. Jaguar rejoins. Tom McWhirter and Darren McWhirter is sharing the Lister Jaguar from 1959. Beautiful Aston Martin DB4 GT. Tariq Mahmoud, 21st position. Lotus Elite number 63, Mario Paletis, down in 37th place. Remember, 68 cars on each of the plateau. Corvette there having a battle. It's not about winning here at the back of the grid, it's about the experience, of course. Oh dear, Austin Healey Sprite, Didier Marty in the pit lane. And that looks like a problem.
parce qu'il n'y a pas d'alimentation essence. Donc je pense qu'il faut peut-être régler le régulateur.
He said he's got a problem with fuel flow. He weren't even in the pit lane in time to start this race. We'll do better next time. Something that we need to get fixed. It's running all right now, though. How pretty is that? Eric Traber in the 250 GT Ferrari Berlinetta. He's running just outside the top 10 in 13th position. Looks like the DB4 GT again. Yes, it is. These cars, well, they're supposed to have their original headlights in. That's what it says in the rules, Keith Arler told me. When I pressed him on it, he said, that's what it says in the rules. Good old Keith. Peter Thornton's DB4 GT we saw earlier on. Too smoky for my liking. In the Triumph TR3, the Le Duc family. Saab 93 taking the outside line. Ooh, didn't stick his nose down there though. Let's have a listen to the two-stroke. Healy going through there. Well, we haven't seen much of the leader, the T61 Maserati birdcage of Baz Willis and Frank Stippler taking the victory from Joe Twyman and Roger Wills in the Lotus 15, and the McIntyre 74 Lotus 15 in third position. Moving on. This is plateau number 4, second out in the darkness hours. The plateau's running 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. The 22 AC Cobra of Bernard Perouche and Steve Hitchens. Steve Hitchens taking the first shift. Distinguished shape of a Porsche 911 in the midfield. And that was Andrew and Richard Frankel. Andrew, a motorsport journalist in the Porsche there. 34 is Christian Glazel. He's been outstanding already this weekend, and he's setting a cracking pace at the head of the field in the Ford GT40. One of my favourites coming through now. Another one of the Porsches, but this time one of the sports prototypes rather than the GT cars, and followed very closely through the darkness by the A3C Bizzarini. Alberto Franchioni and Alfred Strabel will be taking that car run later on. The unmistakable shape of the Ford GT40, Tommy Erdos and Carlos Monteverde sharing the 6 car. Looks TVR shaped to me, and indeed Emmanuel Morel-Darlot, William Gelly in the Grand Tourer Mark III. GT40, the Portuguese team. Diogo and Manuel Ferrao in the 42 car. And there is the Erdos and Monteverde Ford GT40 again, missing a light from the right hand side, but that's not slowing that car down. And there's our leader, Christian Glezel, and at the moment he is driving away with this. Let's enjoy some of the midfield runners. Christian Xavi there in the Ferrari 275 GTB from 1965, and once again the distinctive bright yellow Ford GT40 from 1965. Gary Pearson and Andrew Smith also listed in those cars, and a number of the owners listing several drivers for each car so they can swap and change. Oh dear, no lights there, that could be a bit dangerous. The stewards will be looking at that. Bizzarini once again, being a little too slow. Christian Glezel, though, without peer in this race. From the moment the lights turned to green, he has pulled away from the rest of the field. It's really been fighting for scraps as far as the podium positions and beyond. Fifth position would be the Jaguar E-Type of Andrew Newell, Ross Warburton. The AC Cobra, Miguel Amaral, the 32 car, in fourth. Third, the AC Cobra again, the 22 car, the Hitchens and Perush car. Ludovic Caron in the 21 Cobra in second. But the Ford GT40 of Christian Glezel really impressing in the darkness, as he did in the earlier plateau race. He just drove away from the rest of the field. Time bringing us some fantastic images from the Circuit de la Sarthe. No matter what the plateau, plenty of action in the pits as well. But it's not just about the cars, there's a social scene to be had as well. Not that here at MotorsTV we saw any of that, of course. So many people have been waiting for these cars. Oh, and already a problem with the 45 machine being pushed backwards. But these are the favourites of so many of the people who have come here. The Ligier leading out. It's the 34 car of Jean-Marc Lucot and Jacques Nicolet. It's not too difficult to see why that car is a favourite. Ligier GS3 looking very much like most like a contemporary sports car. And the crowds were thick on the bank sides to watch not only the big bangers at the head of the field, but the scraps among the 2-litre runners as well. A huge raft of Lolas, the smaller engine Porsches, and of course the GT varieties as well. And the big names were on hand in the pit lane. 1970 winner
The car's the same. It's very
Richard
good,
Atwood.
but the track has changed. So the circuit I don't know very well, and I'm still learning it. There are a lot more corners now than there used to be. Primarily down the straight, the Mulsanne straight. It's now got 2 chicanes, and from our nage onwards, it's all totally new, right down to Tête Rouge. So there's a lot to learn, and we don't get enough practice to really sort it out. By the end of the race, I think I will know it. The number of cars here is just almost silly. Yeah, how many you have?
But he's still here and still enjoying himself, of course. That first Porsche overall victory, can you believe this, 40 years ago. Now that noise can only mean one thing, that's the gas turbine powered Helmet TX. Not the first time it's been at the Classic, but it always had a big crowd around it, not too close when it was fired up. Oh, and sadly it seems we have a problem just on the exit of Tête Rouge. Is not going any further. I mentioned the GT cars, the Ford Mustangs, always big crowd favourites, but at the front of the field for Plateau number 5, the second time through in the darkness, Casileris there in the B16 Chevron Mazda. He'd finish inside the top 10 with the twin rotor rotary engine. Everybody thinks of 1991, of course. Jackie Ickx masterminded the first and so far only victory for a Japanese manufacturer, and the only one by a rotary engine. But Mazda very much involved in sports car racing before then, and still today, of course, although not with the rotary engine. Harry Leventis in the P3 Ferrari, he was sharing with Bobby Verdenroe and Gregor Fiskin. Number 38 car, we got a brief glimpse of, all too brief a glimpse of that curvaceous car. Ferrari 512 S's out there, along with Lolas, Porsches, Chevrons, of course. And the problem of traffic, always here at Le Mans, particularly with such big fields. You could see there that the number 71 De Tomaso Pantera was taking life a little easier than some. Chevron B6 there, Eric Peru and Luc Cheminot. Surprised me over the weekend just how many French owners there are of classic British sports cars. Seem really to have taken the Chevrons and the Lawless TRs to their hearts. In there somewhere was a 917. And winning that race was Bernard Thunier in the Lola T70. From Leo Voyadidis in the similar car. Meantime, in race control, all of the closed circuit TV cameras, no live television for this.
Exactement dans le timing pour le départ. Alors actuellement nous avons 33 caméras qui fonctionnent même de nuit, donc ce qui nous permet d'avoir des images et en plus
tremendously important to be able to keep up with all of the cars, says our race director Daniel Poissonneau of the ACO.
Et de pouvoir adapter en fait tout ce qui est sécurité.
You have to watch and adapt your behavior and your response to ensure full security on the circuit.
C'est qu'en fait tous les virages sont éclairés et donc nous avons des caméras qui
cameras at all of the corners.
Ce qui permet d'avoir vraiment des informations très précises et adapter exactement
as much information as possible
en fonction de la demande.
So that we can make decisions. It's like the Starship Enterprise, isn't it, up there?
Ah bah ouais, il y en a une qui nous met de l'huile partout là. On le voit là, on a une voiture qui nous pulvérise pas mal d'huile, donc il faut traiter beaucoup. Alors en fait c'est la particularité, c'est que très souvent on a des
cars that have problems need to be dealt with.
Avec la météo que nous avons en ce moment.
And also we're looking at the weather as well, but there hasn't been a problem this weekend, I should say.
Faire des traitements de l'huile sur la piste en essayant de ne pas arrêter la course, et ça demande aux commissaires beaucoup de travail, mais ils sont efficaces au Mans et ils ont l'habitude.
Lots of work during the practice, qualifying and the race.
On demande un rapport au 42 sur l'incident. Puis l'intervention rapide, d'accord. On peut récupérer un rapport au 42 ?
C'est un anglais ça ? Non, c'est un allemand, je pense que c'est 10.
I think it's safe to say that they've got every single foot, yard or centimetre covered of the 8.5 miles.
Parce qu'il se passe toujours quelque chose et il faut toujours être prêt à réagir. Et bon, il y a beaucoup de responsabilités bien sûr, mais aussi la passion aussi.
And we'll be back with more from the Le Mans 2010 Classic in just a moment.
Neil and EFG Bank.
Le Mans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com.
Points leader Ross Marshall and Stephen Traherne will be going at it hammer and tongs when the Retro Style Legends Championship heads to Liddon Hill for another action-packed weekend. You can see it all here on MotorsTV Friday, July the 16th, 6:50 p.m. The Cavola Tikimaki track will be the next battleground in the ongoing championship fight between Sver Isaksson and Michael Jörneberg when you join MotorsTV for round 6 of the European Rallycross Championship from Finland, Friday, July the 16th, beginning at 9 p.m. All the action, news, features and driver interviews from the action-packed Irish rally scene, there's only one programme that covers it all. Be sure not to miss the next instalment of RPM Motorsport, Friday, July the 16th at 9:25 p.m.
The Le Mans Classic with Richard Mille and EFG Bank.
Le Mans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com. This is the Lola T298 of our colleague Jean-Luc Roy, the chairman of MotorsTV France. He's sharing with Frédéric Desroches and Guy Leclerc. Guy Leclerc saying to Jean-Luc at the start, flat out. Next set of corners, flat out, and then after that, hang on a second, yes, flat out. it's flat out everywhere.
Tu repars avec un moteur neuf, c'est ça?
Oui, c'est ça, oui, un moteur neuf. Parce que
being asked if it's a new engine then, and Jean-Luc saying yes, unfortunately we had a problem with the old one. I couldn't get the gears in the Mulsanne at Arnaud chicane, and they told me they were putting into the first gear, so I decided to do it myself, but I think I changed down a bit early, buzzed the engine into the red, and then the problem occurred a few minutes later, slowed down, there was a cloud of smoke behind me. The mechanics did an incredible job with the extra work that I've given them.
Je pars avec un moteur neuf. Bon, bah là, tu vas nous faire un festival.
So you're going to make something special for the mechanics?
Ça marche, hein. C'est Jacques Nicolet. Qui est le patron donc de
My friend is the boss of Oak Racing and a driver who invited me to join this team. I was so happy. I'm 57 years old, but I feel 70. When we're in a car like this, you have the stars above your head during the night. I don't know if we can be happier. We just love motorsport. It's magical.
Comme celle-là, on a les étoiles au-dessus de la tête. Enfin, moi, je sais pas si on peut être plus heureux quand on aime la course automobile. Moi, je crois que je peux pas. Voilà, c'est vraiment un truc magique.
Very low. We're almost on the track. 280 kilometers an hour. Extraordinary grip. 600 kilos. 300 horsepower. Pure happiness.
C'est une auto qui pèse que 600 kilos, qui fait 300 chevaux. Elle est vraiment scotchée. Et dans
and he finishes by saying a proper driver would probably go much faster, but I'm sure they couldn't take any more pleasure than I do. Collecting area. This car pulling off then for this second round of plateau number 6. And it's Jacques Nicolet, Jean-Marc Lucot in the fantastic Porsche 936 that leads them across the line. Great start from the Porsche. Paul Knapfield in the Ferrari 512 PPLM. Right up there, number 2 car. So they come round to end the first lap. It's still the Porsche in the lead. Watch that in the wheel tracks and having a little look round the outside. Looked to me that was Ludovic Caron in the B21 Chevron, the number 21 car. Through the darkness towards us, and it's still quite tight at the front of the field, and once again a challenge. But oh dear, that's our featured car with a left rear puncture and back into the pit lane. So we've done a good job getting it home. T298 back out and into the race. Excuse me, Jean-Luc Lacroix, excuse me, going back into the race. That was Patrice Lafarge. 298. What a beautiful piece of equipment that is. Another one of Huntington's finest. That looks like pit stops for the leading cars there, as we're looking at the Porsche number 74. Battle in the GT category, as fast and furious as anywhere else on the track. Into the pits then, Bernard Moreau. Another immaculate Porsche, the paddock is full of them. It's the 1973 2.8 litre variety. That clearly is Jacques Nicolet's Oak Racing colours. This weekend, or this race, in the hands of Patrick Lafarge, the Lola 298. And there's our leader. Heading out with the Forest S's and down towards Tête Rouge, onto the Ligne Droite to Nadière. Caron in the Chevron still holding on. Mandatory pit stops in all of these races. It has to be 90 seconds from coming in to going out, as Patrick Henry gives away to Gilles Guidon in the Rondo. Eventually fires. And here then 65. De Roche-Leclerc, Jean-Leclerc car. This looks a little bit long. They've had to put a battery on it to really start it, but it's out.
On était en paquet, on s'est trouvé à 3 ou 4 de front là-bas.
Well, Jean-Leclerc out of the car. He says the first lap was crazy. Very close calls 3 or 4 times before the first chicane. Smoke was everywhere. Had to run on the curb, couldn't see it all. Someone went by me on the right-hand side. I was in a very difficult position. Little collision between us, but maybe that was the original part of the problem that I had with my tyre 2 laps later. It's a crazy run. I can't thank Jacques enough. Thierry and the rest of the team, they've done a great job. The car is terrific, the grip is phenomenal, and the new engine is even better than the old one. We need to take the car out and not get so close to the red tie line this time.
Extrêmement jouissive, il n'y a pas d'autre mot à piloter. Elle est d'une stabilité phénoménale, elle a une tenue en courbe fantastique. Le moteur a quelque chose, malheur est bon, est plus agréable celui-là que celui que nous avions. Il est plus plein, il reprend mieux et on prend la précaution de prendre 500 tours de moins. Donc, Inch'Allah, comme on dit.
If God wills it. Let's get back to the race, and this is the battle for the lead. Ludovic Caron in the Chevron B21, and that was the battle for position. Can't say they're not absolutely at it, hammer and tongs. Anniversary of the Datsun or Nissan Z cars, the 260Z there, going around, and a fantastic display of the origins of the Nissan Z cars with the Fair Lady right through to the new GTR up in the paddock just behind us here. So here's how they finished in the night time. It was Patrice Lafarge in the Lola T298 in third place, the Chevron B21 of Ludovic Caron, the 21 car, with Jacques Nicolet and Jean-Marc Lucot in the Porsche 936. The 34 car, well, they took the victory again in Plateau 6. Joining me here on the Motors TV set at Le Mans Classic 2010, we're welcoming back once again Neil Primrose, drummer from Travis, but this weekend just another petrol head like all of us. Well, we've come through a little bit more of the weekend. It's been a tad frustrating for you so far. Tell us a little bit about your trials and tribulations, Neil.
Yeah, we started sort of looking out for a good qualifying and practice run, and then on the very first lap a guy forgot to put his contact lenses in and drove into me. I then had to dodge an Alfa Romeo who chopped me up at the Porsche curve, so I had to put it on the grass and then spun, and luckily managed to spin in such a way that I missed the wall. So back to the pits, some running repairs, and we were back out again last night. But the engine's given us a little bit of an issue. It's not the engine, it's the temperature, the water temperature, etc. And everyone here is having the same issue. The older cars just can't keep, that reliability going in this heat. It's so intense. It's 38 degrees again today, and we're all struggling, but we're all still here.
How's the little Lola other than that, though? Have you managed to get it back together and she's ready to go?
Yeah, she's good to go, and the other car is good to go as well, so we're out again tonight. And they're both flying. I mean, they're really going well.
You see, that's what I love about this place. You can sit here in the paddock and, a couple of T70s go through like that, and it just invigorates you. It gets you back into... I'm as excited as I was when I was 5 and 6 year old and looking at motor cars for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's evocative on a massive scale. It's Glastonbury on wheels.
Now, that's interesting you should say that, because before we brought you up on set here, we were talking about your music.
Yeah.
And... when you're going to be back out on the road again and things like that. But we started talking about Glastonbury, and you headlined Glastonbury in 2001, was it?
2001, I think. It's that long ago, I can't remember. But it was kind of millennium-esque, yeah.
So that, you're sitting on stage there behind your drum kit, looking out on probably 100,000, 120,000 people?
I think it was 150. It was,
oh my lord,
almost a new record, and then a few years later it got to 170, and I think it's getting bigger every year. It is absolutely gargantuan, the scale of it.
But how do you get your head round that, sitting there looking out over that, where all of those people are staring eyeballs at you, singing along to your music? First of all, it must be phenomenal, but secondly, does it not make you feel about that big?
You get a bit stressed out by it. It takes about 2 songs to settle down. It's like the start of a race. You need a lap or 2 to get into your groove and relax, and then get into it and enjoy it and start pushing. But it's an amazing feeling. The people are enjoying themselves and you're part of it, and that's cool,
Has that type of performance that you've had, has that helped you with your motor racing in terms of being able to concentrate your mind and get a control of your emotions?
It's a similar thing, yeah. Getting your brain in gear, getting a feeling with the car. It's similar to sitting behind the kit or performing, whether you're a singer, guitar player, bass player, whatever, or keyboard player. It's finding that sort of niche that you're good at and just going with it, going with the flow. And certain people are good at it, drivers are good at it, sportsmen are good at it. It's just getting stuck in, You
hear people talking about getting in the zone or zoning out the outside and concentrating absolutely. Now, as a musician and as a driver, is that a technique that you use just to get yourself ready to go and do something, get the concentration sorted?
Yeah, sort of, but I've also learned with driving that you have to clear your mind of everything. If you overthink what you're trying to achieve and overthink the zoning out, you actually end up too zoned in. You maybe try too hard or you're a bit too eager. You've got to kind of relax. I'm not saying that you put on some Hawaiian guitar music and, make a cocktail, but you got to just chill,
I suppose in some respects the difference for you when you drive, although I know that you are super competitive and you take it very seriously, it's not your job.
It's not my job.
When we talk to people like Tommy Erdos, like some of the other guys, Derek Bell, who you were on here with the other day, that was their job. So there's a different type of pressure there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're doing this to enjoy it, aren't you?
Yes. I mean, it gets to that point, you enjoy it, you invest a lot of time and money in it, and as long as you're getting something back, you don't have to win, but if you've done the very best you can, then that sense of achievement, it's like doing a good show with a band, you just feel like you've achieved something that day, and it's good to go to bed knowing, well, that was a good day.
And you absolutely, I know, when I've done a good show on TV, on radio, And you do. You
It's
go.
good.
But you know when you've done a bad one as well, don't you?
Yeah, you certainly do. It's a real turkey.
But you've got to be honest with yourself, and that there's a parallel there with the driving, because you've got to know when to say, there was nothing wrong with the car, I just wasn't on it today.
Or you made a mistake. I have made mistakes in my driving. There's things gone wrong. I've overcommitted in certain corners with a couple of offs, and it's a greater guy that can turn around and say, do you know what, I messed it up. I'm still learning this game, you know. There's guys driving here, even in the Classic, who have done Le Mans 25 times. For instance, John Sheldon, brilliant driver, massively experienced. And John knows this place, he knows every inch of tarmac here, and you know, even he'll say it can catch you out, it can catch you unawares. Even if you've got experience, you've got to just be tapped in as much as you can, but always be prepared for the event.
Neil, I've noticed this year, and you can put me straight because this is my first year, but I've noticed this year that a lot of the smaller cars, smaller capacity cars, are actually doing really well. Now, of course, in period, those cars would have had to run the Mulsanne straight. Now that's cut into 3 parts, and the Porsche curves has been resurfaced. Is that making a difference? Have you noticed a difference since you were here a couple of years ago, particularly in the Porsche curves?
I think the actual circuit sections of the lap, the tarmac is in very good shape. There has been work done. The Mulsanne is still a mixture of railway and tram lines. It can be quite interesting. If the chicanes weren't there, the more muscular cars would no doubt power away. But because the chicanes are there, I suppose it gives it a bit of a level playing field. The smaller 2-litre cars, the prototypes, can really take it to them, you know. We are kind of doing that, but some of the guys with the big motors then just have the punch to pull away, you know. But it's good. It makes it a competitive lap.
We never really talked about this when you were with us the other day, or when Derek Bell and Darren Cox from Nissan was here. How did you get involved in cars? What was it that put you in? Were you always involved in cars before the music, or did it come after the fame and fortune? How does that work?
Well, I'm lucky to be able to do it because of the band and the success we've had. Obviously, I think I do remember watching the late 70s Grand Prix stuff. I had all the cars for Scalextrics, and then you had the whole Mansell, Senna, Prost era, and that was very inspiring. You know, I've always appreciated motorsport. I've never thought that I'd ever do it, and then one day I suppose you just go, after doing a bit of rallying and some karting, you go, maybe I'll try circuit racing, and that seemed to have stuck with me. And here I am, you know.
It is Lolas now, Lolas plural. How many Lolas have you got now?
We have 3 now.
And they've all got a decent bit of history to them.
Yeah, the 212, the T212 is the 71 European Championship winner, driven by Helmut Marko. The T290 was driven by Joe Bonnier and Vic Elford and Gerard Larousse. And the T292 was the 73 European Championship winner, driven by Chris Kraft.
Yeah, so they've got a bit of provenance.
Yeah.
It wasn't always Lola, though. You're a big Porsche man as well.
I still am a massive Porsche fan. And it'll be interesting this weekend, because if this heat and the attrition rate continues, you'll be very surprised. There won't be many Lolas or Chevrons running. It'll be Porsches because they're air-cooled.
That's a very, very good point, of course. Did you ever race a Porsche? Is that how you started racing?
Yeah,
or was it always prototype?
I did some club racing with a 964 Club Sport.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I've done some testing in some RSRs. Phenomenal cars. I still love them. I miss them a little bit, but the speed that you get from the 2-litre prototypes is unparalleled. It's a different ballgame.
Is it a different mindset when you get into that? We had Vic Elford sitting there, you know, earlier in the weekend.
A man who can drive anything.
Well, lasted a great all round.
He'd win races in this.
Yeah, he would.
He's turned his lights round a bit.
We don't see that type of all-rounder talent anymore. Sad to say, I think. I think we're slightly less well off for it. But do you have to turn on and turn off a different part of your brain when you're jumping in and out of different cars?
Yeah, even the Lolas, they have a character of their own, although they're sort of 2-litre prototypes. Each car, any car is, you know, you get into, say, 2 different Porsches of, you know, I'm sure these aren't all exactly the same to drive. They've all got the little quirks, how the chassis has been built, how it's been welded, the stiffness of the car, the roll centre, the drivetrain, the gear shift might be different for a number of reasons. They're all different. You have to just be mechanically sympathetic. And again, that's something that comes with experience.
This is your second go here. I have a feeling it won't be your last if you can get another entry. You're enjoying this, aren't you?
I'm very much enjoying it. it's a real privilege to be on track with guys who are good drivers. There are a few who could be better drivers, but those names will remain nameless. And to get to drive on Le Mans, yeah, you know, maybe one day if things work out. I mean, I'm looking at possibly doing something more modern next year. There's talk of an LMP3 class, you know, let's see what happens. I'd love to come and do the proper Le Mans.
Now, how would that fit in with your day job? Because clearly, if you're going to be a touring musician and a recording musician, that takes up a lot of time. And
well,
if you're going to do something like that, it's difficult to do that part time, isn't it?
Yeah, a proper programme would have to be sort of implemented, and I suppose next year what I'm looking forward to is getting back to work and doing some touring with the guys and playing some music just to clear some of this out of my brain would be a good thing, and then come back to it refreshed and with a better plan of what we want to do.
How long has it been since you made any music now and did any recording or did any touring?
The last show we did was the Singapore Grand Prix last year, and that was fantastic. They really looked after us, and it was a great gig. In fact, on some Singapore Today website, it was voted, I think, the second most exciting event of the year apart from the Grand Prix itself. So that was quite an achievement.
You still get a buzz out of the music, even though it's been your job, your full-time profession for quite a time?
At the end of the day, when you're playing the song for the 2049th time live, it's actually still cool because people are singing and happy and enjoying themselves. That, again, I'm lucky to be part of that. And the feeling you get when you play your best gig or you've played well, and we're always, as a band, we've been together 20 years, although we're still kind of young, we started early, and we're still trying to improve, and if you're not trying to improve, then what's the point in doing anything in life, you know?
Of course, the other thing is a lot of people forget about how long bands, not just Travis, but all bands tend to be together quite a long time before they reach the public consciousness, don't they?
Yeah, 10
Overnight
years.
Success normally takes 10 years, as they say. And
well, yeah, or you can be Jedward or something, you know, and be sort of manufactured, but then what's the point in that? It's not, you know, you've not created your own destiny. I mean, that kind of music is pop, and that's what pop stands for. That's what it almost translates as. But we wanted to do it properly. We did it the hard way. We paid our dues, and it's kind of paid off.
And you still get on with the guys in the band, clearly.
Yeah.
It's a proper relationship, isn't it? When you've got, you know, a group.
It's family, it's brotherhood, and it's good that we've had a break from each other because it's, you know, it's refreshing. The rest of the guys have younger kids than me, so it's important that they've had family time. It means when we come back together, we've got something to go down the pub and have a laugh about, and, you know, make plans with other people in the back of your mind, like your family.
And do a bit of catching up and stuff like that, not like you live in each other's pockets all the time.
Yeah, and after 20 years on tour buses and aeroplanes, it's great, but it's not as glamorous as you think.
Well, I know, but people always think that about motor racing as well, and, you know, it's
hard graft. It's hard graft.
It's airport, track, hotel, track, airport, isn't it? And you do it, except you play music in between.
Yeah, it's a serious vocation.
Just a quick final word about this weekend. We've got the daytime to come tomorrow. Are you going to get that little Lola up and running, singing?
Both cars are going to be running tomorrow in the daytime race, and we're going to have one of them out tonight. So.
Oh, smashing! So you give it a go.
I think 3:30, 3:40 we leave the paddock. So come 4 in the morning, we'll be doing 180 down to Mulsanne. I can't wait.
That is. I mean, there's something sexy about that, isn't there?
I'm going to have to get a couple extra candles put in the light aperture, though, because I can't see nothing.
What's it like going down the Mulsanne straight, or possibly even better, down from Mulsanne Corner down to Indianapolis or not?
Yeah, down to Indy's cool, and then the run from Indy along all the way to Porsche Cars, that's pretty cool. And my favourite bit of the circuit at the moment is when you come through Dunlop Bridge and you go down into the S's. I just love that section. It's something about it. I just love going over that little crest. It's like a little hill. You pop out the top and you're away. It's gone.
That's the rally driver in you still.
Yeah, it's a bit of Vic.
Vic Elford, what a
genius. Man. Great man. His book's absolutely sensational. It's a real inspiration.
Is he the best all-rounder ever?
I think he is. A lot of other drivers, I think, were quite envious of his multi-talented ability. And he hung his boots up, really, I suppose, with a lot of prototype driving, and then went into doing GT racing. And then he went to America, obviously, and did stuff. but he's tried everything and he's done pretty well at everything. I mean, the guy's done it, you know. There's no one like that today.
No, and we missed him. I think we're worse off from Neil. Thanks very much indeed. Neil
Cheers.
Primrose from Travers joining us here on Motors TV, and just getting the whole fever of Le Mans and the LeMans Classic 2010, and that's what we're all about here in the darkness on our Citroën DS here on Motors TV.
The Le Mans Classic with Richard Mille and EFG Bank.
Le Mans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com.
750 brake horsepower, driving for the football teams of Tottenham, Liverpool and Madrid. And of course, support races by the Dutch Supercar Challenge and Bosch Grand Prix. For tickets and information, check zoldersuperleague.be. So that's the place where you need to be, 17th and 18th of July.
Carlos Jimenez will be on home turf when he takes on Alex Salvini in their ongoing two-rider battle for supremacy in World MX3 Championship, when the series heads to La Beneza, Spain for round 8 of the season this Saturday, July the 17th at 12:40. Then the world's top asphalt dirt specialists from around the world will be in action at 1 in round 2 of the World Supermoto Championship from Germany. For the moment, Aston Martin has the upper hand in the all-new European GT4 Championship, with Holland's Paul Meyer leading the championship. But England's Michael Mallock will be out to turn the tide of round 3 from Paul Ricard in France this Saturday, July the 17th from 2:50 on Motors TV. If you've never experienced the close-quarter rough-and-tumble action and thick black smoke that is the staple of the European Truck Racing Championships, be sure to join us on Motors TV this Saturday, July the 17th from 3:15 to discover what all the fuss is about.
The Le Mans Classic with Richard Mille and EFG Bank.
Le Mans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com. The oldest cars at Le Mans Classic 2010 are those in Plateau number 1, harking back to the very origins of the Le Mans 24 Hours in 1923. And the nighttime race puts together a super array of cars from that early Le Mans era. Bentleys, of course, out in force, but also this year the massed ranks of the Talbot team cars and some of the slightly larger engine cars from the early 30s, all out there against things like that Bugatti. There's no mistaking Bentley out there in the darkness. Watch out too for the very lovely Aston Martin Ulster that's just gone through there. Also a couple of Lanchesters, Lagondas, Invictas, they're all out there. Two of the Talbots there going through together, and that's another one as well. BGH 21 is Lee Maxted Page, sharing with Julian Bronson, Gareth Burnett and Alex Ames. 1934 car with the bigger engine. All of the Talbots saved a few years ago, bought en masse. Now, just what we've been talking about, the Lagonda, the very beautiful 1937 Lagonda, Colin and Martin Bugler and Neil Jones. Lagonda, of course, running with a V12 W.O. Bentley designed engine. all huge cars. The big Bentleys, of course, very distinctive. Some of the smaller machinery just as popular with the crowds in this nighttime session. The second of 3 races as the Lagonda rejoins, and there's a hint, just a hint of light in the sky. Also out there is a car that actually took part in the very first Le Mans, the old Ford, so we'll keep an eye open for that as well. 1923 it raced here. Montier Model T, Tony Drone amongst the driving talent there. Keep a look out for car number 19. Twin speed back axle. Oh, now there's the little BMW. Now this is a very pretty car. Look how different that is from the other cars we've been talking about. Albert Otten has brought his 328 in, and it's proving very, very competitive indeed, as we're starting to get real daylight here. Period, these cars would have been driven down from the channel ports, and indeed all of the toll bores that are here this weekend. That's the Invicta, what a beautiful old thing that is. All of the toll bores have been driven down to the channel ports and will be driven back from Le Mans, and there was no péage there in those days. Beautiful K3 MG we saw just a moment ago, Philippe Duché number 17 car. There is the difference in size between the little BMW and the huge, huge Bentley, described as lorries, of course, in time, in their period. So how did the second race of Platinum number 1 go? Well, in 3rd position, in fact, 3 of the top 4 positions taken by the toll bores. 4th place for the number 2 105, the John Ruston, Alex Ames and Phil Stenton car. 2nd, the Lee Maxton Page, Gillian Bronson, Gareth Burnett, it's BGH 21. Go 52 in 2nd place, that's the number 4 car. And Albert Otten in the BMW 328 taking the victory by a very small margin indeed. Through there goes the 16 of Christian Traver, the Delahaye 135S from 1937. Number 70, one of the 10 reserves for each of the plateau. That's another Delage, the DE from 1923. 468 cars. So we move on to plateau number 2 as the day is dawning. Move into many people's favourite era. Not so many people in the grandstands at this very early hour. But we're moving up into the era of D-type Jaguars, Austin Healey 100Ms and Aston Martin DB3s. This is plateau number 2, and a wide variety of road-going racing cars, road-derived racing cars, with the problem now of the sun coming up over the top of the eastern side of the circuit out towards Changé-en-Radin. So heading up the hill, as you can see there, down through the Forest S's. Now Tete Rouge looking directly into the sun just before you turn in for Tete Rouge. The Ligne Droite Unadier, or the Mulsanne Straight as the Brits call it. And this is poetry in motion. Watch and enjoy. Chalk this one up. Hindhaugh is speechless. Into the pit lane, Alancia Aurelia. A few of those here as well, and in the paddock, a 1953 B20 GT brought in by Eric Trauber, sharing with Oscar Avalone. 32 is Nigel Webb in the C-Type Jaguar, the 51 car. He's driving on his own. If you are driving on your own, you still have to make the pit stop. Out goes Carlos Monteverde's D-Type from 55. Carlos and Gary Pearson sharing that car. 14, the unmistakable shake of the D, a 54 car with Peter Newmark and Jab Baxter in that one. Now, just squint that slightly, and you're going back in time through Arnage corner and heading back towards the start-finish line. I'm not calling them the Porsche curves this weekend. We're heading down towards the new White House as the 70 Healy comes alongside our camera car. Robert Peterson and Niels Fredrik Neblius in the 100M from 1955. As you can see through the course of the race, it's lightened up considerably as John Clark goes through in the Cooper T39. Just Clark and John sharing with David Smithies. And again, just look at the differences between the cars from a very much a similar era. XK Jaguars, D-Types, even from the same company. And proving you can just have as much fun in a little one as a big one. Oh dear me. There goes the 58 Fiat 1500 de Boucheron entered car. Now that's appropriate with the new gull wing being shown here at Le Mans, that we see one of the original Mercedes-Benz 300 SLs from 1955, the Pierre de Thoissy and Robert Frauwein car. We call them gull wings, the French call them butterfly wing doors. Porte papillon. And they're proof positive of the eclectic mix of cars in this plateau. Good look at the Merc again. So the result of the second run of plateau number 2, clean sweep for Jaguar with the 14 Newmark and Baxter car in third, Hadfield, Scrivener and Maybury in the 2 car in second, and Carlos Monteverde and Gary Pearson in the D-Type number 6, taking the second run for plateau number 2 from dawn into another glorious summer sunshine day at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Haley 100M there. Jerome Ozanu and Caroline Thwaite sharing that one. And thankfully, the nighttime hours pretty kind to most of the cars, which means everyone gets to have another go in the daytime, with the last race finishing at the traditional time of 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Enjoy the onboard. So race number 2 for Plateau number 2. Congratulations to Gary Pearson and Carlos Monteverde taking the victory in the Jaguar D-Type number 6. For the final part of the show this evening, I get to do nothing but enjoy with you some of the best of the onboards that we've had from the weekend. So watch, listen and get goosebumps. That is Richard Atwood driving a 917. How expensive would that have been if that had gone wrong? wasn't exciting enough. How about some nighttime on boards as well? Certain that was meant to happen. That is what, if you were a pilot, you would call dead stick. Ferrari getting a little too close to comfort. There's a Corvette about to get in the way as well. I hope that ended well. Doing all right until the birdcage goes by with it. I think that was a Lotus 11 in the darkness past the priceless Ferrari. No soundtrack required, mechanical orchestration only, the best of the onboards from day and night at 2010's Classic Le Mans. We have one more programme for you. Join us again on MotorsTV as we wrap up the best of the best from the Circuit de la Sarthe and the Classic Le Mans 2010. It's all here on MotorsTV. I'm John Hindhoff. Bye for now.
The Le Mans Classic with Richard Mille and EFG Bank.
Le Mans Classic, powered by RadioLeMans.com.